Are you ready to turn your best ideas into a thriving online business?
Introducing Shopify, your no excuses business partner. You might not realize, but our podcast, More Than Mammies, it's a business. And we started it, of course, to talk about maternity, not to become an e-commerce expert.
So yeah, we needed some help selling our merch and getting our store up and running. Woohoo! Another sale!
Shopify is a commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide.
No matter if you are a garage entrepreneur or a big business, Shopify is the only tool you need to start and grow your business without the struggle.
With Shopify's single dashboard, you can manage orders, shipping, and payments from anywhere, giving you the insights you need wherever you are. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/sonoro, all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/sonoro to take your business to the next level today.
Shopify.com/sonoro.
Welcome to the Brown and Black Podcast. My name is Jack Rico.
And I'm Mike Sargent.
And every week we take a look at race and pop culture through a brown and black lens. So, Mike, very interesting stuff has been happening this week with the Census Bureau. And the big news that came out of the Census Bureau is that it's updating its race and ethnicity categories. And it's the first time in 25 years that they've done this. So when it happens, it's like news. And so the whole thing is that currently it's a two-pronged question. Now, they all want to just condense it to one question and convert Hispanic from ethnicity to race. And that's making a lot of people talk. According to Robert Santos, and Mike, you know who he is. He's the director of the Census Bureau, but he's also the first Hispanic, he's a Chicano, to ever run the census.
Yes.
And his whole argument is that the whole idea about condensing this down from 2 to 1 question is he just wants to be able to get all of these Hispanics that are not answering properly the current application. And he's trying to see if he can get probably more Hispanics, in my opinion, to gather together. But not everyone's on board. Dr. Nancy Lopez, she's a professor of sociology at the University of New Mexico. And bro, she is like the real deal, man. She argues that combining race and ethnicity into one question, which is the whole complete opposite of what Robert Santos wants to do, it could undercount Afro-Latinos. And not only that, we'll probably get fewer resources because of that. Now, I've always understood this, Mike, to be like the larger you are, the more resources you have. So I think this is what is at stake. So now I ask you, man, which version of the census do you think is better for Hispanics? Just imagine if you were a Latino yourself. The combined question or the separate question approach?
Well, it's an interesting question because I feel it's not always the question, let's say, in this case, but it's how that can be used or, more importantly, weaponized. We'll talk later how the census has been weaponized against Black people since the 1800s. But in doing the research for this, I came across a term that I'd never heard before. And this was something that there's a nonprofit organization called the Afro-Latino Forum. And they said this latest effort ensures that Latinos are effectively deracinated. And it may cause Afro-Latinos to be erased. Now, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know there was such a word. But when you think about it, because they go on to say, by listing Latino ethnicity as a co-equal with racial categories, Latinos are inaccurately portrayed as a population without racial differences, despite all the research showing how Black Latinos are treated differently from Latino. And then the other thing I have to say, mention here, because you had me looking up Nancy Lopez, and she had something very interesting. A question she asks, and what is your street race? And the whole concept, then it brought back conversations we've had in the past. So it was like, okay, what would somebody on the street think you are? What and how do you identify if you are, let's say, Afro-Latino, but you're dark skinned? Are you Black or are you Latino? And does it
That's
depend
that double
on where
consciousness
exactly,
issue, right?
exactly. So deracinating an entire swath of the public, which is growing, I think is potentially very dangerous.
Okay. So with that said, we got to talk about the implications of this combined question. Okay. The two implications that I see here, Mike, is either A, this combined question, if it goes through, is that we just spoke to Efren Rivera about this, that we might have a lot of Latinos choose white because the self-hate of the Hispanic oppression. They're like, wait a minute, I can just choose white and I'm white by the government? Let me look at myself in the mirror again. I sound white because I was born here. I look white. My eyes are light. My hair's light. I don't look Black or Latino. My parents are from Spain. I speak Spanish, though, and I have a Spanish last name, so it makes me brown in this country. But damn it, I look white. What if I put white on the application? Shh. What that does at that moment is it diminishes Hispanics, the population. It diminishes the resources towards that population. And this idea about us having a brownified America by the year 2060 is gone out the door. The second implication is that we do become the ultimate brown America. They're like, you know what? This is our moment, man. Robert Santos, thank you, man. Because we're going to pick Hispanic only. Imagine them all putting in Hispanic. That's amazing for us. We become the mainstream, bro.
In many ways, isn't that what Efren was talking about? Becoming part of the majority or creating your own majority? The ideology is, yeah, you want to be the dominant culture. So if I have to choose, this also made me look up, what's the difference between race and ethnicity? Race is it's physical characteristics.
Physical appearance, yeah.
Physical appearance. Ethnicity is then other cultural things, tradition, whatever. And in case of Latinos, exactly. So speaking Spanish. Now, if 62 million people speak Spanish, do they all consider themselves to be their race to be Latino? I don't know. If I have a choice, like you said, what am I going to choose? If I have that option, what am I going to choose? If I have the option, and who sees this, and then what do they do with that information? Those are the kind of questions that come to me.
And look, I don't know what people are going to choose. But, you know, it's interesting. What is one of the problems of the current census? When I'm filling out the 2020 census, I'm going to the part that says our ethnicity box. Are you Hispanic or Latino? And then you say, yes, I am. And then I'll put in Colombian. So then all of a sudden I get this race category, which is a second question outside of the ethnicity. But I'm not Black. I'm not white. I'm not your Native American guy. So then I choose other. Because I do not identify my life, my daily movements, my thinking, my mindset, the way I look at myself. I don't consider myself any of those things outside of Hispanic. So then I put other, and I don't know what the hell other means, bro. But there's other people that will be like, yep, I'm Hispanic ethnically, from Mexico, Cuban, and then they might just switch over to race and go white. The Afro-Latino is an interesting thing. And this is where I think maybe Nancy Lopez hasn't fully fleshed this out or what. But from everything that I've read, and maybe there's more to read, but from what I've read, what she's worried about and her main concern, Mike, is that Afro-Latinos are going to choose just Hispanic in the new questionnaire and not Black. That's her concern.
And they become deracinated.
Right. But here's my thing. aren't they doing that already in the current system? They go to ethnicity and they put in Hispanic. And then they'll put where they're from. They can now go to the race portion and put Black. Robert is saying they don't do that enough. Therefore, Afro-Latinos aren't being counted. This one question will help. We're just streamlining the operation. So, Mike, is this really about the system? Or is it about behavior? And in this particular case, the Afro-Latino behavior, they already have the two options anyway. They're just not choosing to put Black. They keep on going to other. Why? There needs to be a focus group about that. But this is what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about the optics to the brain and how you perceive information and whether that information will give you more of an accurate result than an inaccurate one. What these two people are talking about, Robert Santos and Nancy Lopez, is about aesthetics. It's about how it looks on the page and whether one version will get you more accuracy than the other.
Accuracy, though, to what end?
For resources, political laws, it is the amount of people, the majority, that will allow policies to happen. You have more Hispanics in politics, you have more laws favoring Hispanics. It's just that simple.
True. Again, I come at this from maybe a slightly biased place, both as African-American and knowing the history of the census and what it's happened to us. But also, all right, there's a book. It's a book called How to Lie with Statistics by Darrell Huff. And this is a real book. It's from the 70s. And one of the chapters is called How to Statisticulate. And again, another word I never heard of. What the hell is statisticulate? And so
what is that?
Exactly. What's statisticulate? I've never even heard that word. And you go to that chapter and it says, misinforming people by the use of statistical material might be called manipulation in a word, but the one word is statisticulation. And I was like, holy shit, there's a word for this? So that's part of my concern. Because if you look at the history of the census, this is not the first time there's been controversy. There was in 1940, they added Mex as a category. And then prior to that, it was just like W or B. And then they added MU for mulatto and OT for an octoroon. So they've been trying to figure out how to figure out what the fuck we are for a long time.
My real fear is that Hispanics are going to be the new whites and they're going to add to the 75% of the white majority population of the United States, taking them to 90%, dude. Because it won't be all Hispanics, but it'll be a lot of them. And so what we're doing is we're making the country more white. And if you make the country more white, I'm sorry, I don't trust them to be so empathetic of Hispanics that they're willing to equal it out for us.
I don't know why you wouldn't be trusting of white people.
I don't think they're just going to give us 50% of it. No, they're going to rule the world and we help them. So I'm not necessarily choosing one or the other, but I can see the points in both. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, man. In the Black community, how do Blacks see the census compared to this complexity for the Hispanic?
It's funny what you're saying, because I feel for Black people, it's been very similar. Begin to answer your question. I want to go to a clip from someone we've had here on the show, a comedian called Leanne Lord.
I remember when we went from Black to African American, and my dad was like, nope, Black, I'm done. And I didn't understand, right? But in my father's lifetime, he went from colored to Negro to Black, and African American was just a step too far for him. That's how I feel about BIPOC. Black, indigenous, people of color. I mean, did they just lump us all together so they could ignore us all at once? And if you talk to the IPOCs, being lumped in with black folk. They were aiming for white and got friend zoned.
In regards to the complexity, black people generally can't hide unless you're light skinned. And I think it's similar, but different. So for black people, unless you're going to straight up lie, you know what you are because of how society treats you.
But what if you're a white passing black?
Look to President Obama. When he put on the census, he just put black. Why? Because he wouldn't pass for white. But if he could, would he have put white?
Here's my question. The more and more we've done this podcast, the more I've learned that the black community is not homogenous, is not a monolith. They say this a lot about Hispanics. Oh, Hispanics are not a monolith, but neither are blacks. If you put a room of black people together, I'll walk in and I could see a black person from Nigeria who has no American accent, nothing. You're not from America. Drake, the whole issue with Drake now in this Kendrick beef is that Drake doesn't live the black American experience, the traumas of being enslaved, and Black Lives Matter because he's biracial and lives in Canada.
He hasn't had to. Yes.
He hasn't had to live this.
Hey.
So then you talk to a third black person and they're like, yo, I don't like hip hop. They sound white and they're light skinned, green eyes. But yo, you talk to them, they're black. They're like, I'm black. So then you go, but wait a minute. Isn't everybody supposed to be black, dark black? That's black. And this is what I think that in my head I go, shouldn't the census actually have in the black/African-American category? Shouldn't they also do the same thing with Hispanic and go, I'm black, but I'm Afro-Latina, black. You're coming, instead of from a Hispanic point of view, you're coming in from a black point of view because your mom is Dominican. Your dad's black. You feel black, but mom's always talking to you in Spanish. So you're like, yo, but I can't ignore that I got this Spanish and I love reggaeton, but I also love trap. So you want to put in the black section Hispanic. I mean, you could always put in the other race as well. These are just questions, man. I just feel like most of them, like today, everyone's fucking mixed, Mike. Everyone is mixed today, dude. So this purebred analysis, I just don't think it works anymore, man. It only favors, I think, the majority usually. It helps the minorities, but it ain't getting us to the majority. Maybe we should just overhaul the census altogether because of the mixed race issue. How are you gonna accurately measure mixed race people, man?
That's just it. If my only choice is black or black, it says the choice is generally black or African American. Well, what if I'm West Indian? What if I'm from, Guatemala and I'm this? What if I'm that? So now I have to say, okay, black and am I
black and something else?
Black and something else. And so how does that help me? How does that help me? And what? How is that information going to help?
That the West Indies are going to get a little bit more money.
You think so?
That's what Nancy Santos' whole argument is. If you don't allow people to express their nuances, their cultural nuances, then this is not accurate.
Well, what if I don't identify as XYZ? How do you create your identity? Is it created for you? Is it created because of a form? Is it created, like, as Nancy said, from your street identity? What is your identity? And then where does that place you?
America gave us our image. And I hate to say it, man. They created the word Latino.
And Hispanic.
I was just going to go there. And they also did Hispanic. Now, a lot of people have issues with those two words. Even celebrities today who don't want to be identified or don't want to use the word Hispanic. They don't want to use the word Latino. And you ask them why. And it's all because you're property of Spain. Property of the Roman Empire because they created the Latin. because of Latium, which was this place in Rome. And that's where the language was first formed. And then it evolved from that into Spanish in Spain. And then Spain came to America from Argentina all the way to Canada. And boom, they put the language of Spanish in America. That's why there's almost 600 million people who speak Spanish in the Americas. And then you come to the United States and you're like Colombian, and then someone says, oh, you're Latino. Wait, what the fuck is that? I never heard of that word. You mean Latin American? Like, no, Latino or Latina or Latina or Latinx. Like, wait, what? What is that stuff? Oh, so you're Hispanic? I go, I've never heard Hispanic. Is that an umbrella term? No, I'm Barranquillero de Colombia. De la Murillo. Like, hold on a second. That's not in the census. So for time's sake, we're just going to summarize all of your 32 countries, 34 countries, and we're going to just put them into this word. And then you'll get a lot of money, and then hopefully more education dollars for your kids and great neighborhoods and good jobs. Don't you want that? Yeah, but I got to sell my identity for it. That's the choice. I don't think Nancy Lopez is fully completely right, and I don't think Robert Santos is fully and completely right. There's too many questions and too much behavioral things you got to figure out in people, and polls I don't think are going to work. Because they interview like 1,000 people and they try to amplify that to millions of people. I don't think that's going to work. The most accurate thing that you can do, Mike, in my opinion, is if you're Hispanic, put in all 30-odd countries in there. All of them. Put it all in there. And then let people go, yo, dude, we can't make up a country and a culture. This is why I think they just want to condense this down, because people will either troll you, they'll mess with you, or they'll tell you the truth, or they really don't know. How are you going to get an accurate answer out of that? So to me, just overhaul the whole thing, remove Hispanic and Latino, and put in all the Hispanic countries, all of them, and let the Hispanics decide. And maybe expand on all the other ones, like for blacks as well, West Indies and things of that nature, with a lot of Afro-Latinos that consider themselves black, or that have been made to be black, because they can't survive and function with a Hispanic identity. If you're Afro-Latino and you're in Hollywood, look what's happening to Hispanics. You don't want to be a Hispanic in Hollywood right now if you're an Afro-Latino and go down that route, because you're not going to get far. That's the truth. Maybe time will change. But if you're black right now, you're winning Oscars, you're being nominated for everything, your movies are being made, you're the talk of the town.
But what are you?
Society's making you black if you're Afro-Latino. That's where
there it is.
Society does dictate. I think they do influence the way you see yourself. Your identity is always a dance between what you think and what the perception of society is. And then you come 100%. To an amalgamation of what those two signify to you. And then you tweak every day, every year, every decade. You tweak. You might refine your culture as a Hispanic later on in life. But I just don't think you will ever be able to have an accurate result from the census. So the census 2030 is 6 years away. So we're going to have a lot of time to continue to flesh this out, this concept. But you know what? I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this. Do you think combining race and ethnicity into one question is a good move? Or should we keep them separate? Let us know. We're on Threads, we're on Twitter, and we're on Instagram. Let us know. And that's it for this episode of Brown and Black. If you would like to support this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. Your help will allow us to be heard by many more people. You can also follow our comments and opinions on @BrownBlack Podcast on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. We'll see you on the next episode
of Brown and Black.
Are you ready to turn your best ideas into a thriving online business?
Introducing Shopify, your no excuses business partner. You might not realize, but our podcast, More Than Mammies, it's a business. And we started it, of course, to talk about maternity, not to become an e-commerce expert.
So yeah, we needed some help selling our merch and getting our store up and running. Woohoo! Another sale!
Shopify is a commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide.
No matter if you are a garage entrepreneur or a big business, Shopify is the only tool you need to start and grow your business without the struggle.
With Shopify's single dashboard, you can manage orders, shipping, and payments from anywhere, giving you the insights you need wherever you are. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/sonoro, all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/sonoro to take your business to the next level today.
Shopify.com/sonoro.